I usually don't discuss about hentai manga, but as promised for my 4,000 subscriber special video, I am going to be talking about one of my favorite hentai mangas of all time. And for those who don't know me, the Kumo Sensei, I am a big fan of the romance or the vanilla genre in hentai. So as promised, today I'm going to be talking about Futatabi Koisu, also known as Love Again, and this was created by Mushi, and I will actually leave their social media links down below if you want to go support them or go check them out. But without further ado, let us discuss about this hentai manga and why you should love again. Page 1 is very different from most typical hentai mangas, as it basically reaches the climax of the story, where the romance finally reaches the conclusion of intimacy. And this is our main character, Ayumi. And from this first page alone, we learn that Ayumi and her boyfriend has reached their intimacy and conclusion of their love. While page 1 shows us the climax of intimacy, page 2 we learn a bit more about these two. With the slight information that has been provided to us, we learn that these two have been dating for only a year. And they also both learned that this was the end of their relationship for as far as it goes. And although they did get intimate, there was no kissing or no touching whatsoever. Page 3 is probably the most interesting page of this entire story. Here we see Ayumi. She appears a bit shocked, only to find out that her boyfriend has now moved on and is talking with somebody else. It's surprising, honestly, because Ayumi isn't really upset. But as she stated, on the contrary, she was a bit relieved. Shortly after that, they broke up. So I would actually like to discuss about these first 3 pages. I find these 3 pages to be powerful in terms of storytelling. You typically don't really get this in a hentai manga nowadays. Most of the times it really just tries to build towards the erotic scenes, but in this case, it's kind of the reverse of what it is. We're seeing the end of the climax and basically the end of a relationship. It's very poignant, if I say so myself, but also quite beautiful. I find it very interesting nowadays how anything 18 plus, whether it's hentai manga or hentai anime, seems to lack on storytelling elements. While I know a lot of people do watch and read hentai material for their own personal reasons, I do enjoy a good story every now and then, and this is actually one of those hentai mangas that actually does have quite a beautiful story. So I do want to ask my viewers and anyone who is watching this a question. What are some hentai mangas or hentai animes that actually has interesting, unique, or good story beats or elements in it? If you know any, please leave it down in the comments below, and maybe I'll review it in the future. Page 4 starts with Ayumi discussing about what has happened to her best friend Mao. And Mao here, she does actually have her own story, but I will leave that for another time, because this story is focusing on Ayumi. So while Mao here is basically angry about what has happened, the breakup, and the things that went down, Ayumi basically describes how they met, which was at a mixer, and they happened to only continue dating because both of them were lonely at the time. But I think this bubble here about what Ayumi is about to say is one that I can actually relate to. Besides, isn't that great? That one of us finally found the person they actually like? And man, that is a powerful thing to say. I can relate to this on so many levels. And although Mao, her best friend, basically states that she wouldn't be able to think of it that way, us as the readers basically understands Ayumi's approach, which is to basically accept and to let go. Page 5, we see Mao getting a bit of a happy expression from checking her emails from her boyfriend. And we can see on Ayumi's face as well that, deep down, there's a slight envy of that love that she desires. Not in a jealous fashion, but rather one that seeks out the same feeling. Now we cut into 2 months later. Ayumi is reading a book in a cafe or a restaurant when a stranger approaches Ayumi, and before she could recognize who this individual is, a little flick hits right onto her forehead. Then comes down memory lane, an old friend of hers, old classmate. Now here we're introduced to Masa, an old classmate of Ayumi's, whose family apparently moved to America, and now they're back here in Japan. And apparently, according to Masa, universities are better in Japan. But now that Masa is now back in Japan, he and Ayumi decide to exchange numbers, and new ties are now born. Now these 2 friends are now spending time together, and as I stated intentionally, friends, not as a couple. Now I will actually read these text boxes, so let me read them for you. After that, we had fun as if we were childhood friends, up to the point where either of us invited the other to do just about anything together. It was then I realized that being together with them felt completely natural. However, I hadn't checked whether this feeling was mutual. I was scared of our relationship falling apart if either of us said those words. I do not know if it's the ultimate genre within me that is sparking here, but these words are extremely powerful. As somebody who has dated in the past, somebody who's been through this, and somebody who's ready to love again, I feel some type of way here. I feel relatable. Now after a day of Ayumi and Masa spending a day together, they see each other's ways. Until Masa decides to tell Ayumi to come over for the night. Now we're getting to the erotic scenes, and I'm afraid I can't really show you too much because there's going to be a lot of censoring and a lot of things I can't show because YouTube keeps age restricting the parts that I want to show, I guess. Because to me, even though these scenes are not as dramatic or as great as some other hentai mangas or animes, this to me feels earned between these 2 characters. This is why I really love this story a lot. It's very distinct to me, because typically in most hentai animes and hentai mangas, the main character usually wins over the females or the other person quite easily, and in this case, it felt earned, knowing what Ayumi has gone through and finding that love again, which is why I find these scenes, although it may be simple and vanilla, it's something I truly love. So there is the typical touching, the typical 6'9", and the typical positions that you'll see in a typical hentai manga. The chemistry between these 2 really sets it up. But if you're wondering what is my favorite page of this erotic scenes, my favorite without a doubt is this page here, page 17, where Ayumi basically admits that this isn't her first time, and our boy Masa here flicks her and basically states, well, that doesn't matter to me. You know, you're fine just the way you are. And, I love that a lot. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted, am I? But anyhow though, these next few pages is textless and mostly just imagery of intimacy. So there's really not much to show because YouTube would definitely take this video down and age restrict it, and also it's very straightforward and nothing much to discuss besides someone finding that love again. But after climaxing, the true seal of a kiss brings these 2 together. And man, this is earned. I truly love when hentai manga actually goes out of their way to basically tell a story, to make characters feel more like characters, and not to use them as sexual objects or ways to just goon. But I'm sure that by now, the majority of you understand my taste when it comes to the hentai genre. And as my friends used to state it, very gentleman-like. But now, after the kiss, we do a time skip to Mao and Ayumi in a cafe discussing about their current relationships. And now we've come full circle. The same desire, the same face that Ayumi was wanting, the one that Mao had from the earlier pages. Now, as Mao looks at Ayumi, she sees the same face, that face of love. And as Mao states, looks like I had nothing to worry about. And that is the end of this story. Futatabi Koisu, Love Again, by Mushi. And that is the end of the story. Now, I would actually like to discuss and talk about this story on why I love it a lot and why I find this to be special. Hentai manga usually revolves around people being more of, let's just say, sexual urges, rather than trying to find that love that every individual wants. And I know some people, it's completely fine to have material to enjoy yourselves, relieve yourselves, or just find something erotic for your own personal time. But as for me, I love when there's a story behind a hentai manga. There is actually a few of those that I do want to discuss in the future videos, different series or different hentai mangas. But honestly, this video by itself was very difficult to make because I did do some test videos and all of them pretty much got taken down because it's 18 plus material despite censoring, cutting, and editing, or at times it age restricted my video. Basically, when a video gets age restricted, basically it will never appear on suggestions, recommendations, and the only way to find it is if you're subscribed to that person, or unless you search up that video manually, then you're not going to ever find it. So I'm hoping this video here doesn't get age restricted, but let us wait and see. But I do hope everybody enjoyed this video, and if you did, please feel free to like this video. You don't have to subscribe, I don't force anyone to. This video here was originally a joke that I stated before, that if I ever hit 4,000 subscribers, I will make a hentai review video. And this hentai manga here is basically that video. But I truly love this series, and I truly hope that someday I'll be able to love again myself, which is why I really want to talk about this series. And maybe someday, just like Ayumi in this series, I myself, and maybe you as well, will be able to love again. Thank you for watching.